Hello, everyone, and welcome to Darlington, South Carolina, and welcome to the Lady on Crack 178 presented by Gladiator. I'm your commentator, the Aussie Tim commentator, and it is awesome to be here in Darlington for this race. Cars are currently in the pits, looking like they're about to get ready for a pit party. There's James Watson, the 39 car. New look for him today, throwback. It looks like a throwback to an old Dodge paint scheme. But of course, with him running the Taurus, got the Ford all over it. We do also have a new driver here tonight. That is David Huckleberry. Got the 52 on his car. But I think he's 105 the standings. Just waiting for everyone to roll off of pit road, because there's not a single car on the track. Ken Campbell in the 15. Like he's going to start making his way towards the front. He'll probably be one of the first to peel off pit road. In fact, he's not even waiting for anyone. He's just going. There's you guys all sitting around. I'm just going to go. Why not? He hasn't set a lap yet. We do have some movement in pit lane now, though. Like Thomas Harmon going to be one of the first cars out. I guess all Chris Champeau was out there as well. 17 of Christian Budd back in action tonight after taking last week off. Last week is the only race that Christian Budd hasn't won because he didn't even show up. They're all hanging around like Brown's cows, waiting to get into order. Scott Rickett on the front row with Kyle McCoy. Those two always up to trouble. They're getting ready to go on this pit party. And they're off. A little bit of wheel spin throughout the field. Most drivers getting it pretty well. Oh, Travis Massia giving a big bump to Chris Champeau, and he has caused a big one there. I think that got Scott Rickett, maybe. There's someone who was, see, Horton and Cook have gone to the pit, so it might have been them. Looks like the rest of the field has gotten through unscathed. Oh, I saw someone smashed up in the back there. I think that was a 21. It was Dad Failor. Got snapped loose coming out of turn 4 and into the wall he went. Looks like the 05 has Scott Rickard having some issue here. He's not going at the speed that he would desire. Lost a couple spots on the track. There's a 12 of Chris Champeau. And Chris currently in the 6th position in the standings. As, the big boot. Scott Rickard to the back of Brian Pizzicami, and Pizzicami took it like an absolute champ. It's so weird seeing James Watson with blue and white instead of his usual gold and yellow car. Or is it gold and red? Yeah, gold and red. The red and white instead of the red and gold. As Rickard has pulled out of the situation up the front there. Looks like he's going to head down to the pits. Logan McConnelly leading the way. He's got a 29.965 as his fast time. It's 0.077 seconds. Behind him is the 17 of Christian Budd. Christian Budd, who is one of the most dominant drivers in output racing history. I think out of all the races he started, he only hasn't won like 5 of them. And that might even be an overestimation in itself. See Chris Champeau there in the 12. He was trying to look for a move on Brian Pizzicami going into 1 and 2 there. Couldn't get the move made. This is going to be a very hard to make past this kind of track. As in the background there, James Watson exit stage left into the inside wall, the old pit wall. And the 15 of Ken Campbell trying to go for the move on the 12 of Chris Champeau. Below those dotted lines, that's a really hard task, and now he's left the door open for Christian Budd to come on through. Better to do that in practice than it is to do it in a race. Time is ticking away. It's only just over 6 minutes left in the session. Ken Campbell now all over the back of the 17. Christian Budd just about all over the back of the 12 of Chris Champeau, and Chris Champeau all over the back of the 78 of Brian Pizzicami. You saw there, 17 of Christian Budd just peeking his nose out of the draft ever so slightly. Trying to see if he could maybe rattle Chris Champeau there a little bit. Oh, there was a big checkup coming out of the corner from Pizzicami, and that has caused Champeau and Budd to crash. Oh, and it's gotten even bigger than I thought it was going to be. Thomas Harmon also involved. I can't tell who that other car was. Very possibly was... Actually, no, I'm not going to speculate. Just briefly saw the 5 of Mark Pentacup on screen. He's down in the 18th position. There's about 9 laps left, so just under 5 minutes of racing action in practice to go. There's the 9 of Joe Slama. Right behind him, the 21 of Thad Baylor. Just in front of both of them is Thomas Harmon in the 38. And Slimer currently in the 8th position. And he is 0.325 off of the lead time, but he's made a meal of it in the middle of 1 and 2. And around he has gone into the fence. There's a double O, Jonas Marquez. Just behind him, you can see the 5 of Mark Pentecoff just slowly and surely catching up to him. And Mark has really been improving as a driver a lot lately. Been doing a lot more racing than what he usually does. There's a 12 and a 17, Chris Champeau, Christian Budd. Both of them also Winstell Racing Series races. Christian Budd, the defending champion of that league. He is poised to do it back to back. Got 4 laps left of racing action here in practice for the Lady on Crack 178, presented by Gladiator. That's just how good Christian Budd is right there. A track that's so hard to make overtakes, he'll still find a way. Oh, Thomas Harmon attacking Chris Champeau as well. And on that note, with the completed overtake from Thomas Harmon, we are going to go to commercial break now. When we come back, we will see the results of qualifying right here from the Darlington Raceway with the Lady on Crack 178. So make sure you guys stay tuned. Racing action will be coming up very shortly. Welcome back to the Lady on Crack 178 here on the Aussie Sim Commentator channel for the Output Racing League presented by Gladiator. And as you can see, qualifying is complete. It's time now for us to start going through our starting order. And you see him right there on the pole, the 17 of Christian Budd, to the surprise of literally no one. The one of Logan McCannley will be out of P2. P3 will be the 15 of Ken Campbell, with P4 the 38 of Thomas Harmon. P5 will have the 16 of Kyle McCoy, with P6 the 05, two-time series champion I think now, Scott Rickard. P7 will be the 9 of Joe Slammer, with P8 the 12 of Chris Champo. P9, they see him right there, the 61, the Cookie Monster himself, Corey Cook. The 74 of Austin Collins will be out of P10. P11 will be the 39 of James Watson, and P12, the 52 105 of David Huckleberry. Nate in the 29 will be out of 13th, and Andrew Griesbaum will be out of 14th in the 68 car. Got the 13 of Travis Massey in 15th, the 8 of Matt Horton out of P16. P17 we have the 21 of Thad Faylor, with P18 the 6 of Mitch Pape. P19 will be the 78 of Brian Pizzicami, with P20 the 5 of Mark Pentacuff. And last but not least, Jonas Marquez in the 00 will be out of the 21st starting position. 21 cars on the track, a 34-44 strength of field, and it's going to be 130 laps of this man-made hell known as the Darlington Raceway. Normally it's the lady in black, tonight it's the lady on crack. 178 miles ahead of these drivers. Who's going to survive? Who wasn't here for practice and will face severe wheel spin? Who is going to be the hard charger? David Huckleberry is the last person who is eligible for hard charger with his 12th starting position. So anyone who started 12th or higher will be eligible. Everyone 13th and below will not. As the pace car pulls in for the first time here tonight, it's going to be a day race to try and keep these guys a little bit looser. And we are off and racing for the Lady on Crack 178, presented by Gladiator. And already 17 of Christian Budd just mastered the wheel spin and goes straight into the first position. Let's see how the field handles turn 2. Will we have any mistakes? There's already a bit of a gap starting to form there behind the 05 of Scott Rickard. But no, Rickard's up towards the front. Who's that towards the... Oh, that's the 29 car. And it looks like, actually, for the most part, everyone's single filed out, although the 29 is starting to make some moves out there. That's Nate in the 29 car. Go 5 of Scott Rickard gets around the 12 of Chris Champo. In fact, defends from Chris Champo. Looking like he wants to try and make a move on his friend Kyle McCoy in the 16. And look at the run to turn 3 and 4 that the 12 of Chris Champo got. But most people preferring that low line in 3 and 4. 1 and 2 is always a low to high to low kind of corner. Exact line you take just slightly varies driver to driver. As there is a move being pulled out the back there, corner 29 in the 61, and Nate will overtake the Cookie Monster himself, and he will move himself up into the 10th position. Words are hard. There, Nate looking like he's loving conditions here at Darlington. I think I just saw the 15 and the 16 trying to shape up a move on Thomas Harmon in the 38. Neither of them prevailing so far, though. Bit of smoke in the back there. I see Andrew Griesbaum way off the back of the pack. Does he have damage? Nope, no damage. He must have just gotten loose at one point. Another car that seems to be struggling is Huckleberry in the 52-105. There's definitely quite a bit of check up here on the entry to 3 and 4. Oh, and apparently I'm doing experimental with alternate dimensions as a commentator as the 15 of Ken Campbell makes his way around the 38 of Thomas Harmon. So that's a move that happened there into turns 1 and 2. Got the 61 of Corey Cook just about collecting the outside wall there in turn 2. Got to be careful of that, especially as the tyres wear out. Already 7 laps into this 130 lap race. Oh, look at the run the 12 got on the 05 going into turns 3 and 4. In fact, the 05 of Scott Rickard got loose going through turn 4. That's opened up the door for the 12 of Chris Champeau. He's got the nose peaked, and he just doesn't quite have it to get the move made. Slips back into formation. And it looks like the 16 fancies a move on Thomas Harmon. He's not going to get there, and he's also going to have to watch for Scott Rickard around the outside now of 3 and 4. Close quarters combat for the two friends there, and McCoy and Rickard. McCoy will prevail. I just saw on the ticket there, the 78 Pizzakemi making the move on Mitch Pape in the 6. Pizzakemi up 3 positions from where he started. In fact, 4 positions from where he started. He's up into 15. The biggest mover out of the top 12. Well, that's Huckleberry, who's gone the wrong way. He's lost 8 positions since the start of this race. As far as actually making moves, I guess Ken Campbell would be a hard charger at this point. No one's really gained more than one who started in the top 12. I said making passes here is a commodity. Fuel run is going to be the deciding factor, I think, how this race plays out. But how tight these cars are expected to get throughout the run, I wouldn't put it past us to get maybe a caution or two in this race. Everyone has been very cautious right now, though. The 05 of Rickard backed out of it so he wouldn't turn Kyle McCoy. That opened up the door for the 12 of Chris Champeau to make a move. They're still going to be side by side, and now the 05 of Scott Rickard maintains position. Actually pretty sure last lap Scott gave a little bit of a hurry up to Kyle McCoy. He didn't want to turn him, which is why he backed out. Bit of 29 right there of Nate. Oh, he's making a move on Joe. Joe made a small mistake. That opened up the door for Nate to take position. The Nate, who was the first car to not qualify, started out at 13th. He's now up into P8. Christian Budd with a 1.5 second gap now over Ken Campbell. We look back at Scott Rickard. Gaps are starting to get wider between most of the cars. Everyone's just falling into their groove here. No, it looks like Rickard actually got a little bit loose coming off the corner that time. And once more, that's opened up the inside for Chris Champeau into turn 3 and 4 as Scott Rickard got into the fence. Now Rickard will have the momentum from that outside line. But Chris Champeau is still right up on the inside. Why did the camera swap cars? There's a battle going on. We don't want to miss it. And it looks like Scott Rickard just holding on. But look at the pace of that 29 car. Nate fires it up the inside of the 12. Chris Champeau trying to use all the momentum of the outside lane as Nate got a little bit loose. He'll file back in the line. Close quarters combat here in the Lady on Crack 178. And these guys have really fallen off from the top 5. I think that's why the 12 and the 29 are so desperate to make moves. Because Scott Rickard just doesn't really seem to have a solid run going here. And he has lost 2.5 seconds to Kyle McCoy in front. That gap is only getting bigger. It looks like our leader Christian Budd already almost into lap traffic. Oh, so there's a big whack into the fence there for the 29 of Nate. We've been keeping an eye on this little battle as Chris Champeau just caught the wall coming out of 4. And he's got a little bit of a run going into turn 1. Couldn't do anything with it. Oh, very defensive swipe there. With a 12 of Chris Champeau. That's allowed Nate to go around the outside in 3 or 4. He's going to use all the momentum there. And he's just going to squeeze ahead of Chris Champeau. The Nate, the 29 now up into P7. Now we've got the 2 Goodrich cars. Nose to tail. As Chris Champeau desperately trying to find a way back around Nate. Looks like he's not going to get a move made there. Yeah, Christian Budd has already caught up to Huckleberry. Huckleberry's first race with the Output Racing League. And he's going to pull right down onto the apron to give free passage to our race leader. The next two cars on Christian Budd's list will be Mark Pentecoff and Andrew Griesbaum. Huckleberry not wanting to disturb anyone's race. He's going to stay on the apron until he gets a clear gap, I guess. Now, I guess in the context of this track, calling it the apron is really a bit of a stretch. Honestly, it's just unused part of the track. Because that dotted line does not designate the apron from the racetrack. That just designates the difference in banking. As it looks like Nate, the 29 car, is trying to look for the outside move on Scott Rickard. Rickard just a little bit too strong that time for Nate. They fire down into turns 1 and 2. As far as I can tell, this is the best battle on the track. But there is another, and that is the battle for P2 between Ken Campbell and Logan McAnally. McAnally, who started out of P2 in this race, he wants to try and get second back. Christian Budd with a 2.5 second lead now as McAnally gets the fence in the middle of 1 and 2. That ruined his momentum. We'll go back to the battle with the Goodrich cars. Well, I guess one's Goodwrench, one's Tyre Pros, but it's the same paint scheme. Definitely a lot of cars getting unsettled there, coming out of turn 2. As the 05 of Scott Rickard is definitely leading a bit of a train here. Mark Pentecoff has officially gone a lap down. But the 9 of Slama trying to make a move to the outside of Chris Champeau. Didn't quite have the legs on it. And Scott Rickard now starting to get a bit of breathing space between himself and Nate. "33 laps into this race. If my calculations are correct, this should be a 2-stop race. Which means we'll start seeing the first round of green flag stops fairly shortly. Probably be around about the same time that I go to throw to a commercial break. Scott Rickard has definitely pulled away from these guys now. Means that Nate is now the train conductor, but look at Joe Slama to the outside of Chris Champeau, but he caught the fence. And that gives the 12 car all the momentum he needed to get back past the 9. See, Austin Collins and Corey Cook are in this battle as well now. Oh, big into the fence for Joe Slama. And that's probably done some serious damage to the 9 car. You saw there, Nate, the 29, just trying to break draft ever so slightly to the 12 car behind him, as Huckleberry has come into the pits, the first of the green flag stoppers. He has gone another lap down, and he might actually be getting some damage fixed and sitting in his pit box for over 20 seconds. So this could potentially be the end of the race there for David Huckleberry, as Austin Collins looks for the move to the inside of Chris Champeau. A lot of room given. Champ with the run down the front straight. But that's not going to stop Austin, although he just ran out of momentum. He'll fall back in behind the 12 of Chris Champeau. Look at the 61 now. The Cookie Monster himself, Corey Cook. Oh, as the 9 of Slammer just flew into the corner. Just about catching the back of Corey Cook there. Oh, and I'm experimenting with an alternate dimension again. Oh, and it's true, David Huckleberry, OUT, out of this race now. Just saw the red out next to his name. And Corey Cook now fires it down to the inside of Austin Collins. Collins with the momentum on the outside. He's going to try and look at turning that into a move on Chris Champeau. He's got the momentum, and he will have the overtake before they get into turn 1. Corey Cook was almost going to follow suit. He didn't quite have his nose up there, though, as Mark Pentecoff has gone into the pits. And it looks like the 12 of Chris Champeau had a little bit of a mistake coming out of the second corner, and that allowed the 61 of Corey Cook through. I just seen the 29, Nate, just catching the wall there, going through turn 3 and 4. That slowed him up just enough to give Austin Collins the run. And Collins will make that move as they go through turns 3 and 4. In fact, Corey Cook looking to follow suit, and he will do so. So Collins and Cook up into 7th and 8th now. Thad Baylor has come into the pits. It looks like we're getting some green flag stops right now. This is 1/3 race distance. Zama's in the pits. Baylor's in the pits. Pape has come into the pits now. McCoy's come in. And now Chris Champeau has gotten around Nate. Nate is really struggling with the car. Rickett has come into the pits as well. It looks like our leader Christian Budd's shaping up to come into the pits this time. This has put Ken Campbell into the lead of the race. Campbell will get a bonus point for leading the lap. Well, it looks like Mitch Pape is out as well. He's got the big out next to his name. Ken Campbell has now come into the pits. Logan McCannell, has led a lap. Oh, there's Matt Horton in the A car, last week's winner. Sent it real hard into 3 and 4 that time. As Pizzakemi and Watson have both come into the pits now. There's Ken Campbell coming out of the pits right next to the 29 of Nate. Nate, who caught the ball rather ferociously there, coming out of turn 2. And Campbell with the fresh tyres will just scoot on by. I think with that, we are going to go to a commercial break now. When we come back, we'll see how the rest of the guys go getting into the pits. Make sure you guys stay tuned to more racing action for the Lady on Crack 178. We'll be back shortly. Welcome back to the Lady on Crack 178 here from the Darlington Raceway on the Aussie Sim Commentator channel for the Output Racing League, presented by Gladiator. And Thomas Harmon currently leading the way. He still has not pit yet. So too has Corey Cook and Travis Massey are not pitted. They're in second and third. And Jonas Marquez has not pitted yet either. So Marquez is about to go and be overtaken by the 17er Christian Budd, who would cycle through to be our race leader once the last 4 cars do complete their pit stops. Thomas Harmon leading the way right now from Corey Cook, then Travis Massia and Jonas Marquez. In fact, Andrew Griesbaum, who was a lap down, he also has not pitted yet. As Ken Campbell gets himself back onto the lead lap. There's Carl McCoy looking to unlap himself as well. Logan McAnally, who led quite a few laps. He's now gone around Thomas as well. But Thomas would have to pit here pretty shortly. I mean, I guess staying out as long as he is, he'll be on fresher tyres, which means he'll be able to push them a little bit harder, or he'll go for a later pit stop again in the second round of pit stops. Means he'll have fresher tyres for the end. Unless he's trying to save fuel and do the fabled one stop. Pulling off the one stop around here is not going to be easy, especially not with the fresh tyre advantage and how long this race is. But, if he can last another 15, 16 laps on the track, so it'll be 16 laps from when he hits the start-finish line, then the the one stop could actually be possible. It's just whether the time loss being on the old tyres for that long is actually going to be worth it or not. But we will be keeping an eye on it as Scott Rickard comes through to unlap himself. And no, he's coming into the pits this time. We're hyping up the one stop this entire time. And look at the slide. He's going to miss pit road. He's spun out. Oh no, that's a horrible pit entrance there for the multiple-time champion of Thomas Harmon. Oh, what a pit entry. That's now left Corey Cook in the lead of this race in the 61 machine. It's Cook from Massia and then Christian Budd. Now, Cook and Massia are the only two to have not pitted yet. In fact, Jonas Marquez still hasn't pitted yet either. Just having a look-see, and now Jonas comes into the pits. As Massia gets overtaken by Christian Budd. There's only 7 seconds between Cook and Budd, and that is closing very, very quickly. Thomas Harmon will come out, and he'll just about be a lap down now on Christian Budd, that is. But he should be able to get that back fairly quickly with the fresh tyre advantage. And now the 61 machine comes into the pits. And finally, the 17 has cycled back into the lead of this race. Right behind him, you see the lap down car of Andrew Griesbaum. And then not far behind him is Thomas Harmon, as Jonas Marquez comes out of the pits. And Mark Pensacough goes another lap down. But here goes Griesbaum now to unlap himself from our leader. Although Christian Budd putting up a little bit of a fight there. Made Griesbaum work for it. But yeah, if Thomas can make this a bit of a short stint and maybe go for the undercut when it comes to the next round of pit stops, and depending on how hard he drives here, he could be in a pretty good position, considering he just unlapped himself. And he will have much fresher tyres. Christian Budd, who's been on these tyres for 19 and a half laps. And then there's Thomas Harmon, who's 4 laps on this run. And let's go see if there's any action throughout the field. There's Corey Cook in the 61 machine. There is Nate in the 29. And he has Pisakemi and Watson on his tail. Now Pisakemi, don't forget, started way back in 19th, and he's up in the 9th. He's plus 10 for the race so far. Apart from that, the hard charger of the race, those who qualified and have gained positions, that'd be Austin Collins at the moment, who is plus 3 for the race. Started in 10th, now in 7th. Watson is one who qualified, but he started in 11th, and he is currently 11th. But these guys actually lost a position to Nate, and Nate is pulling away from them. There's the 16 of Kyle McCoy. He's in P4. Got the lap car of Corey Cook between himself and Scott Rickard. And there's 2 lap cars between himself and Logan McCarnley in 3rd. Got 4 cars 1 lap down, 2 cars 2 laps down. And of course the 2 DNFs from Mitch Pape and David Huckleberry. Corey Cook gets around McCoy with ease. Thomas Harmon just got around Matt Horton. That was for 12th and 13th. So Matt Horton in 13th is the last car on the lead lap now. First car 1 lap down is the 21 of Thad Baylor. As we are edging ever closer to the halfway point. In fact, we're past the halfway point. 65 was the halfway point. We're on 71. For a minute there, I thought it was 75, but I was like, no, wait, that doesn't sound right. Turns out I'm just 2 halves of a whole idiot. as in the pits is the 5 of Mark Pentacuff. I think he's in to get damage repaired this time. And he has been in his box for 16.9 seconds, so maybe not. Maybe this is a planned stop. Maybe, just maybe. That was Pentacuff's last stop of the race. As McCoy pulled out of the way there for someone. I think that was the 05 of Scott Rickard, who has moved his way up into 4th now and is going to start trying to chase down Logan McAnally. Yeah, this is where those fresh tyres can really come to fruition. Oh, the 21th, Thad Faylor. He's lapped down car on Scott Rickard, but he was looking very out of sorts there on turns 1 and 2. Just a little bit of all over the place. But Rickard gets around him with ease. Now he'll start chasing down the 61 of the Cookie Monster himself, Corey Cook, who, if we were to get the caution, would be the lucky dog recipient, being the first car 1 lap down. Of Austin Collins looking to make a move on McCoy as well, and he will do so coming out of turn 4 and going into turn 1. McCoy now down into P6 while Collins up in the P5, which means he's +5 for the race. Whether he can hold that to the end or not is the next question. It's like we should be seeing the next round of pit stops between laps 85 and 95 to 100. So we'll say between 85 and lap 100. Unless someone wants to try and go for that super early undercut. Try and make the most fresh tyres while everyone else is on old tyres. You see Austin Collins working on Scott Rickard there already. And he has made the overtake. Scott Rickard made that one very easy for him. And Collins now up +6 for the race. Christian Budd dominating as usual. Has just about 4.5 seconds over P2 of Ken Campbell. Look at the 9 and the 21. Oh, and we swap back to the 74. And now we swap to the 13. Travis Massia, who's 1 lap down. Chris Champeau behind him, who is on the lead lap. Nate, the 29, is there as well. Travis is actually battling with Thad Faylor in the 21 4 position. They're battling for second car 1 lap down. Because as I described earlier, Corey Cook, first car 1 lap down. It looks like tyres have really just evened out for most people as Masia gets the run on Baylor, and he'll make the move decisively going into turn 3. As the 9 of Slama at the same time trying to make the move on Kyle McCoy. Oh, and there's a crash. The 9 and the 16. That should be a caution. There was 2 cars involved in it. No caution so far, so let's go back and have a look at what happened here. So it looks like the 9 of Slama might have come up, just trying to side draft slightly. And yeah, that's just kicked them both down into the inside wall. By rules, that's a 2-car incident, so a caution should have flown, but it did not. As Slama is in the pits, McCoy has continued on in P9. Harmon has worked his way up into P8. He's just in front of McCoy. He has the freshest tyres on track. Oh, and around goes Nate. I didn't see if he got a tap there or not. He's in a part of the track where a caution won't come out. And caution is out now. Oh, he got loose. Got loose coming out of turn 2. Right behind the Sunoco sign. And unfortunately, Thomas Harmon nowhere to go but into him. And that is going to change this race completely. Corey Cook should be the lucky dog waiver around here in the 61 machine. Everyone's still trying to catch up to the race leader, who is already heading into the pits. That's Bud Campbell McAnally. And we're going to take this advantage and we're going to go for a quick commercial break. So make sure you guys stay tuned. We're going to be going to the end after this commercial break. Welcome back to the Lady on Crack 178 here from the Darlington Raceway on the Aussie Sim Commentator channel for the Output Racing League, presented by Gladiator. And he came in P1, he's come out P1. Christian Budd will still lead away. Andrew Griesbaum in the 68 machine is going to go for a waiver round here. Corey Cook is saying is still a lap down as we are 1 to green, so I'm not sure who got the lucky dog waiver around. Possibly Travis Massier Yeah, it looks like Masia was the recipient of the Lucky Dog wave round, so there you go. It's going to be Bud, Campbell, McAnally, Collins, Rickard, Champeau, Harmon, Pizzakemi, Watson, Horton as your top 10. Of course, the 17 of Christian Bud has chosen the inside line. The leader has lane choice. The first start is on green. All the restarts are on the leader inside of the restart zone. Of course, Darlington does have a restart zone. So we will go when Christian Bud feels good and ready to go inside of that box. The pace car has gone in. And we're off and racing. He goes real early in the box. And look at the jump he got over the rest of the pack. And they say cautions breed cautions, so we'll have to keep an eye out and see if it does. Most people strung out already. Everyone is on fresh tyres now too. So that grand plan for the 38 of Thomas Harmon not really coming to fruition. It was definitely a good plan. He was making up a lot of ground there in the last few laps before that caution. He's looking to the inside of Scott Rickard right now, though, into turns 1 and 2. Side by side, they're going to go. Rickard with the advantage on the outside. And it looks like Rickard will just have him cleared on the exit. But he wasn't confident about the clear, which made him check up that little bit extra, so he didn't get into the fence. And Thomas Harmon just doesn't quite have the legs on it to get back up there. He's very close, but he's no cigar. As side by side, Austin Collins and Chris Champogo. Chris is loose. He saved it. What a save that was. Well done. He's going to lose a whole crap ton of position. But he is still in this race and we don't have another caution. Now they say cautions breed cautions, but we haven't had another caution bred out of that one just yet. As Chris Champeau stares at the back, the 39er James Watson, who we haven't had much of a chance to talk about tonight. But he has made his way into P8 after starting 11th. Austin Collins would still be the hard charger. Ryan Pizzakemi, 19th to 7th. Joe Slammer, OUT, out of this race. Someone who will be hoping for another caution is the 61 of Corey Cook. Back into lucky dog position. I'm not sure why he did not receive the lucky dog on the last caution. But he'll definitely be hoping for it this time if we were to get one. Ken Campbell is keeping Christian Budd a little bit more honest this time. Only just under 2/10 the gap between Budd and Campbell. Have a look at how that looks. There it is. It's not a very big gap at all. Let's go back to focusing throughout the field, see what we can see. Now this is the problem with Darlington. It's so hard to make passes when everyone's on the same tyres. It can be done, but it's not easy. We saw in the first run, people had to resort to going to the outside line in 3 and 4. And they had to get the pass made before turn 1. Now Sakara on the inside will try and fight back. But there can be a little bit of overtake if you're trying to make the pass, but you gotta have most of your car in front going into turn 1 to really make it stick. Especially if you're going for that outside pass. Going for the inside pass is a whole lot harder because you have to do a slide job into turn 1 to really make it stick. If you don't know the definition of slide job, I suggest you go watch some World of Outlaws or some high limit sprint cars racing. You'll see what a slide job is then. Or even just go support your local short track. As long as it's covered in dirt and there's sprint cars on the card, you'll see some slide jobs. Christian Budd's still leading the way. And he is not letting up. Ken Campbell fighting his hardest right now to stay with him. Well, Scott Rickard caught the fence coming out of turn 2. Now allowed Thomas Harmon through. Thomas now up into P6. Sorry, Harmon now into the top 5. Brian Bizzicami sitting back there just patiently waiting in the wings. Laps are winding down. We've gone past lap 100. In fact, we're going to complete 102 this time at the line, which means it's just 28 laps to go. I do have the camera set to focus on anyone and everyone, but apparently it's picked a liking for Scott Rickard. And when I say anyone or anyone, it's set to focus on crashes. So iRacing thinks that Scott Rickard is going to be the next one to crash. They make their way through turns 1 and 2 once more. Still Budd over Campbell. McCannley, Collins and Harmon, that's your top 5 as they stand. Let's see, Brian Pizzicami has closed in on Scott Rickard here ever so slightly. So we could have a race on for the 6th position very shortly. Rickard, once more, like the first run, just doesn't quite have the pace of the front runners. In fact, he checked up a lot there going into turn 3 that time. And that's allowed the run to come from the 78 machine. 39, James Watson, he's looking to take advantage as well. He just doesn't quite have the legs on it to get his nose up there. But Pizzichemi up into P6. And it's a big slide for Scott Rickett, a bigger slide for James Watson. Chris Champeau just lurking behind them. He wants a piece of this as well. He's got a point to prove and a chip on his shoulder. After losing so many positions on the restart, he wants to gain them all back. Down to the inside once more. Goes James Watson in the 39 machine. He's close, he's just not close enough. As into the pits goes Andrew Griesbaum. He did receive the wave around hoping we'd get another caution. And that did not come. But I suspect if we were to get another caution, everyone would be in for fresh tyres again. As into the fence went the 05 of Scott Rickett. That's allowed. James Watson through. Rickett earning that Darlington stripe. He's got a few of them now. Corey Cook still the car in free pass position. Looks like Kyle McCoy actually might be under risk here of going a lap down shortly. He's lost a lot of time since he fell out of the top 10. In fact, since he dropped out of the top 5. And yeah, he is nearing the nose of Christian Budd. Christian Budd coincidentally only 3/4 of a second in front of Ken Campbell. Campbell having a much better run this time than what he had in the first run. But still just no match for the power and the might that is Christian Budd. As laps are ticking down. Next time around, it's going to be 15 laps to go. Means that we're at about 8 minutes left in this race if we don't get a caution. And that's based on lap times with how many laps are left. There we go, it's 15 to go now. Let's go have a look at where Kyle McCoy is. He's just coming out of turn 2. Mark Pentacup, who's about to go another lap down. Paul Pentacup, he's already 3 laps down. He's about to go 4th. Let's see how Christian Budd does it. Straight to the inside, and smooth as silk was that move. Christian Budd barely even lost time to the 2 cars behind. And you know what? Let's see how 2 cars behind handle the lap car. And Pentacup gets right out of the way of them. But he made it much easier for 2nd and 3rd to get around him than he did first place. And these two are actually in a little bit of a battle of their own. Looks like McAnally has just come alive here in the second half of this run. I think he was looking after his tyres a little bit at the start of it. This is why he's just so red hot right now. He's looking for the inside run on Campbell. He's not going to have the legs to get there yet, though. Now he's going to look to the outside run. Look at how deep into the corner he went. Almost goes up and earns a stripe. Campbell, without having the best run coming out of the corner. I thought McAnally would have gone for the move, but he didn't. This is just losing both of them time now. Valuable time that McAnally could be using to try and catch Budd. As across the track, both of them go, slide jobbing into the corner. For Campbell, it was in defence, but it's not going to work out for him now, as now McAnally will go for the move, and he will take over the 2nd position with a big slide job. Look at that. That's exactly what I was talking about. Earns a stripe on the way through, but keeps up all the momentum. Now he's going to try and chase down the leader of Christian Budd. The fast car at the moment is actually Andrew Griesbaum. I think he has slightly fresher tyres. He's 2 laps down. As there's just 10 laps left to run. Christian Budd was 0.3 faster than McAnally that last lap, but McAnally did obviously make the overtake. The 2-second gap. Now let's see how that's going to change this time around. 9 to go. And it's a 31.894 versus a 31.852. Oh no, it's a 694, my apologies. I can't read. So he's still 0.2 faster than Logan McAnally. Let's go back to focusing anywhere and everywhere. See some of the lead lap drivers just getting around Mark Pentacup. They're going through turns 3 and 4. Pentacup giving them all the space in the world to get around him. Here goes a move now. Corey Cook on Scott Rickard. Now Cook is a lap down compared to Rickard, but he's got a lot of pace right now. If that was a move for position, that would have been Cook up into P9. But as it stands, it is not. As you see, Andrew Griesbaum getting around both James Watson and Brian Pizzakemi. Watson actually looking to make the move on Pizzakemi. Looks like he has a little bit more pace than Pizzakemi. Just can't quite get the run, although he's got it now coming out of turn 4. But he's not going to be able to get his nose up there. Pizzakemi had just a good enough exit out of turn 4 that he could keep him behind. as we are coming to 5 laps to go this time. And McCoy has been put a lap down, so McCoy is now first car 1 lap down. If we were to get a caution, he would be back on the lead lap. And the chances of a caution right now are low, but never zero. It's like the chances of a cat murdering you with a combine harvester are very low, but never zero. So Travis Massier is the next one, who is last car on the lead lap. It's going to be 3 laps to go, so I don't think Christian Budd will catch him. But there's always a chance. As side by side goes the 39 and 78. That's coming out of turn 3 and 4. The 78 with a much better run on the inside line. But James Watson going into turn 1, he's going to have the advantage on the high line. In fact, a little bit of a wiggle there for Pizzakemi. And that has allowed James Watson through to P7. Now Watson is 1 position off tying for the hard charger position with Austin Collins. So if he can get around Harmon, he would be equal. He needs Austin Collins to make a mistake for him to get hard charger. Again, taking nothing away from Brian Pizzakemi. Started in 19th and is currently in P7. But it's now white flag, last lap, last chance to win it or wear it for your leader, Christian Budd. And he has a 4-second lead over Ken Campbell. Comes down the back straight for the final time. There's no chance of a caution now as he goes through turns 3 and 4 for the final time. The winner of the Lady on Crack 178 here from the Darlington Raceway is going to be the 17 of Christian Budd. P2 is going to go the way of Ken Campbell, and P3 is the one of Logan McAnally. And Austin Collins is going to be the Autism Awareness Hard Charger Award winner. We're just going to wait for everyone to finish so we can get the results up on the screen. And while we look at the results, we'll see Christian Budd in the background doing a burnout. Spud, Campbell, McAnally, Collins, Harmon, Watson, Champeau, Pizzakemi, Rickett, and Horton. That is your top 10. And it's Massier, McCoy, Cook, Nate, Faylor, Griezmann, Marquez, Pentacuff, Slama and Pape both DNFing from this race as we go over the page. Huckleberry on debut, unfortunately, also DNFing from this race. But what a win for Christian Budd. Absolutely dominant as we've come to expect. And look at that donut he is doing. He is on the dot, running the same tyre tracks as he was. Now he's not. But with that, we're going to go to a commercial break now. When we come back, we will have driver interviews. So make sure you guys stay tuned. All right, guys. It is now time for driver interviews, and as always, we kick things off with our Autism Awareness Hard Charger Award winner. And today's Hard Charger started from P10 and worked his way up into fourth. It is, of course, the 74 of Austin Collins. Austin, it seems that you lost your Taco Bell deal, and now you're looking for some sponsors, mate.
Yeah, we're pretty empty on the old Gen 4 car. If I was any better at them, I might have sponsors, but these things I tend to not be very good in these things. So I'm happy with the fourth place. These cars you just got to put a lot of practice into. It feels like at times, and with my schedule, I come in and I don't even get to run laps here tonight until qualifying starts. So it's just one of those things that. Just wish we could get a little bit more practice, but scheduling issues just prevent that.
Oh, it's still a bloody good effort, on a track that's, well known as being as hard to pass as Darlington. Uh, you know, Getting up six positions from where you started, not an easy feat unless you do it all in the pit stop cycle.
Yeah, that was a lot of it. I mean, I gained a bit there at the end of that first run. Because like I said, I think I started what 10th, and then stayed about 10th. I think I dropped back to like 11th or 12th at one point, and then rode in 10th. I think up until about the stage, and then as soon as the stage ended, you could tell who was pushing for that those stage points, and I ended up picking them off one by one at that point. And then some of them stayed long and they got caught by that caution. Like I know Thomas, he got called out. He stayed out long. Corey, he had stayed out long. He was kind of right there behind me. And so yeah, at that point, it was just I got a good time on that caution, and I felt like I said, I felt really good on the long run. Like I said, I caught them and passed them all by the time, or everybody but those top three right there, until that caution came out. So like I said, I felt good. Obviously, those guys are just stupid fast. I mean, they're anywhere you go, they're always your top three usually. So especially in this car, they're just it's hard to keep up with them. They got so much that they know and they just know how to wheel these things.
Yeah, absolutely. But what was it like there? With that second run before we got the caution, because I know Thomas Harmon had much fresher tires than everyone else, and he was absolutely on a charge. Were you worried that he was going to, break up your top four position here?
It would have been close. I know we were that caution came out. It was almost time to pit again. I was going to cut that one a little bit shorter. Probably I wasn't going to go all the way to 100. I went to 50 in the first run, and I probably wasn't going to go to like 95 on that last one. That way it was a 45 lap run for those last two stints there. But so I think that caution came out. What was it like 86 or something? 85. So we weren't far from pitting, anyways. Like I said, I don't know what his plan was, where he pitted later. I don't know if he was going to stay out longer. I don't really think that would have worked in his favor, unless he would have been able to save. But I don't think he was going to. I think Corey or Cookie was going to be the only one that could have maybe have made it on a one stopper. So it would have been interesting.
All right, now let's look forward to next week once I get the right page up. And we're going to be going to the Milwaukee Mile. So, what's the feeling like for you as we head to Milwaukee next week for what is sure to be maybe a little bit of a chaotic race?
I usually love Milwaukee. I don't know about in these cars, but Milwaukee is usually a really good track for me. Like I said, these cars though, it's a toss up. So we'll show up next Tuesday. Have no practice, run us two qualifying laps, and probably start in the back again and try to charge it and get this hard charger again.
All right, Austin, thank you very much for coming out. But before we let you go here tonight, anyone you want to give a quick shout out to?
Yeah, shout out to you for doing the broadcast, Corey. Everybody here at Output that helps put on the league, all the drivers that show up. Like I thank Scott for making my paint scheme. Like I said, we're a small team here trying to look for sponsors. So doing these hard charges is always a good way to get your name out there. If you want to be on the car, I'll be up here.
All right. Well, again, thank you very much for coming out, Austin. Congratulations on coming home with people. Look forward to seeing
Yeah,
what we can
take
do
care.
next week when we go to Milwaukee.
Yeah, take care, buddy.
All right, guys, that was your fourth place getter and your Hard Charger Award winner, the 74 of Austin Collins. Up next, we have our third place getter who seems to not be around for the interview. There's, of course, the one of Logan McAnally. And what can I say? He started P2. He dropped back that little bit early, but he was always up there trying to battle it out. And, he maintained his top three position for the majority of the race. But he just came up short to our next man, our second place getter here tonight, who is going to be the 15 of the Superman himself, Mr. Ken Campbell. Ken, P2 in
Yes, sir.
a difficult to pass track. And, it's just all about trying to catch Christian, but he's just too damn good all the bloody time.
Yeah, he really is. I gave it the fat man try. I gave him hell for about 10 laps, and then he just checked out. But I figured with the way the pacing had been earlier in the race, I was like, okay, I can, save my tires and probably finish second or third, or I can go out there and give it hell and see what happens and finish second or third. So I chose the second option. And there were a couple times he gave me hope. He had a bad exit out of two, and I had a little bit of run. I wasn't quite there, but I was like, maybe it's enough, and it wasn't. But anytime I finish second to Christian, I'd take that as a win.
Absolutely. But what was it like in the race? Of course, we had the one green flag stop. We were just about to head into the second when the caution came out. So what was it like for you just trying to judge when to go for your two stops in this race? And how did it change your mindset when the caution came out?
Yeah, so I knew it was going to be a two-stopper, and I was interested to see when people were going to pit, if they were just going to cut it at 45 and 90 or go a little bit longer or whatever. And so I figured that Christian has a lot more strategy to it than a lot of us, and so I was just going to go one lap longer than him and get me a lap led if he wasn't far enough out. I don't know if I led that lap or not, or if he had enough of a lead on me or not. But it was like, okay, whenever he goes in, I'll just go in one after, and then I was just going to double that run. And so I think I would have been pitting on around 94 or something like that. So I was really just trying to check with Logan, because he stayed out several laps longer than I did the first time. And I think I had like a 3-second gap on him, and he had closed it to about 0.6 or 0.8. So I did not want him to undercut me. So I might have come in a little bit early if he was really closing the gap even more than that. But the caution came out and didn't need to go that far into it.
No, I can confirm you did actually lead that lap.
Oh, let's go.
Yeah, so you got a bonus point for that one, which is always a plus when you're on the track with Christian Bud. But I noticed there right at the end, after you'd finished having your charge, Logan was right there on your bumper for those last half dozen or so laps. What was it like just trying to make sure that you had enough in the tires to stay ahead of him as you were coming to the checkered flag?
Yeah, well, I actually didn't. He passed me. He was running really well and was generating some runs, and I saw him kind of diamonding 3 and 4, and so I was like, okay, I'm going to go and try to do that as well. And I just wasn't practiced enough at it, and so he got a better run and ended up passing me. And I was like, okay, this is my life now. I'm just going to follow Logan. And then all of a sudden, I don't know if he was trying different stuff to get up to Christian or what, but his car was really unstable. And then coming out of two one time, he got really loose and then ended up going halfway down on the apron. So was able to pass him back there. And then from that point on, his tires were just so hot that there wasn't a whole lot that he was going to be able to do. So at that point, it was just make sure that I hit my marks and didn't make any mistakes.
All right, now let's look forward towards next week where we're going to be going to the Milwaukee Mile. So what's the feeling like for you as we head into Milwaukee?
I like that track about as much as Jaron does. Um, so I'm not a fan of the flat tracks, so we'll see how that goes.
To those of you who don't know, once upon a time, Darren qualified pole for Milwaukee, and wheel spin happened. We'll go with that. All right,
Yeah,
Ken.
he was in the infield care center real quick. Yeah.
Yeah, he didn't even finish the pace lap.
So yeah, hopefully I can make it a little bit longer than that, but I don't expect to be getting an interview at Milwaukee.
All right, Ken. Well, before we let you go here tonight, anyone want to give a big shout out to then?
Yeah. First and foremost, as always, shout out to my wife Casey, my kids Logan, Jet, and Easton. Tomorrow is actually Logan and Jet's 11th birthday, so happy birthday, boys! I love you. Everybody here in the league, it's just so fun to do hard racing that's clean and respectful, and we showed that tonight. Everybody had different pace, but everyone was respectful and giving room and letting people that were racing each other, race it out. And it doesn't get any better than that. And so, yeah, just shout out to everybody in the league, Team Conti for their support, making me a better driver, and you up in the booth.
Now, don't forget, you can also catch Ken on YouTube. And where can we find you on YouTube, Ken?
Yeah, it's youtube.com at Campbell Racing. Come watch some shenanigans.
All right, Ken, thank you very much for coming out. Congratulations on coming home P2 here tonight. Look forward to seeing what you can do next week at Milwaukee.
Appreciate it, man. Have a good one.
All right, guys, that was Ken Campbell, our second place getter here tonight. Coming up next, we all know him, we all love him. It is the Cog himself, tonight's winner, the 17 of Christian Bud. Christian, another difficult to pass race, but you qualifying on pole. You just got out in front, got that clean air, and just showed them all an absolute clean set of heels.
Yeah, try and make up for the last race I ran in this league, which was not quite the result I was looking for. So it's good to win again. The race actually ended up being pretty good. I was pretty worried when we started the session that the setup felt really tight, but actually once the track rubbered in, it came in okay and it was pretty fun. The longer runs, you kind of had to save a lot of tire. That was the only thing I would like to have been able to just, you know, flog the car a little more, because I was trying to drive it, in a tire saving way the whole time, and make speed while doing it. But yeah, overall, it was a really good race. Would have been really interesting to see what would have happened with the pit strategy there. So I kind of was talking to Ken before I got in here, but I had pit, around lap 45, figuring to split the first two, and then would run about 40 laps for the last run on pit around lap 90. And he was starting to catch me pretty good there at the end of that second run. I think I had just burned my tires up a little bit and then kind of got stuck between some lap cars and stuff. So he was starting to kind of mow me down. So I don't know if he would have got to me before I pit or not, but would have liked to see how that would have played out. But we got the caution, so then it was pretty standard race after that. Just stay in front of him and try and make sure he was in the dirty air wake as much as I could have him in there, and try and save my tires. And I knew if he was in that dirty air, he'd be using his up. And then I think that's eventually what happened to him. He ran a really good race, but I think just it's hard to beat that clean air.
Yeah, and there was definitely a lot of very interesting pit strategies going on, especially Thomas Harmon staying out as late as he did. He did make it back into the top six before that caution came out. I know that with green flag stops looming again, that could have been a very interesting scenario for him with what he was going to do. But what can I say? It's just another absolutely dominant race for you. As you said, that clean air is just so key in these cars. Even with the bit of the limited aero compared to the cars that we have today.
Yeah, I mean, you can tell, like in practice, I kind of was playing around a little bit and got right up on Chris Champo's bumper and, get him loose there. And, you can kind of play around with each other a little bit, as far as the aerodynamics are concerned. But, at the end of the day, being up front is going to be the advantage usually. Um, so it's just how it is. Even with the old car at this place, so there's certain tracks, this place and Richmond or two, that you wouldn't think would be super aero dependent, but they are. And if you're behind somebody, you really either try and get out from behind them as much as you can, or you just kind of, if you can't pass them, you kind of accept that you're going to just tear your tires up. It would have been interesting to see too with Thomas. I think somebody else was saying they thought they could make it. I'm not sure who, but I don't know how that would have played out. I think if they could have made it, they probably win. But caution came out, so we never know.
Yeah, the other one was Corey Cook, who was trying that audacious one stop. But let's look forward to next week. We're going to be going to the Milwaukee Mile. So, what's the feeling like for you as we go from scraping the walls and running up high to the flat track of Milwaukee?
Well, it's okay to drive, I guess. The track is okay to drive. It does not race well, because iRacing with certain tracks has just never updated them, and this one has no grip updates. So if you get stuck on the outside, you will either just go backwards or you will destroy your tires and then go backwards. So, so that kind of sucks. Um, as far as how the race would be, I mean, if we get spread out and kind of can we'll have to see what the tire wear and stuff is like with these cars, especially. It's really hard to say. So I don't know. It's another wild card, I guess.
All right, now before we let you go here tonight, Christian, anyone want to give a quick shout out to?
Yeah, just wife and kids who put up with me doing all this racing stuff all the time, and of course Output Racing for putting on a league, and all the drivers who showed up tonight and made it fun. You for doing the broadcasting, and we'll give a shout out to the Winstow boys over there who are getting close. We got 7 races left, determine championship over there, and hopefully maybe I'll get lucky and get another one.
Now, if you want to see Christian Budd struggle a little bit in a race, you can catch him racing over in the Winstall Series on the ABN Studios Twitch channel. We're not racing this Sunday, but next Sunday from about 8 p.m. Eastern is when the race will be on. So, Christian, thank you very much for coming out. Congratulations on coming home with another win. And we look forward to seeing you next week at Milwaukee.
Thank you.
All right, guys, that was tonight's winner. It's Christian, the Cog Bud. But that is going to wrap things up for us here tonight. Thank you all so much for coming out. What a race we had here tonight. Only one caution, and it came just before the pivotal point of green flag stops, which ruined any chance of strategy. But that's the way racing goes. So until next week, I've been your commentator, the Aussie Sim commentator. We'll see you guys in Milwaukee.